LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This is your fix.
I am your host, Stassi Schroeder. Welcome to Tell Me Lies, the official podcast. What's the most unhinged thing of season 3?
Steven, because he's so evil.
I do think he is misunderstood.
You see everyone face consequences.
It's intoxicating. The writers just know how to trick you. There's always a twist in this show. Tell Me Lies, the official podcast, January 6th, and stream the new season of Tell Me Lies, January 13th on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Hello there, Stanley Karr here. You know, I love collecting music and sports memorabilia. Want to know where you can find some? I'll tell you. Go to oldglory.com. This website features one-of-a-kind apparel from your favorite sports teams and musical artists. And I can help you get 15% off of all items. Use the code WWH135. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Karr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He is an independent professional wrestler. I am pleased to welcome Peterbuilt. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Yes, sir, Mr. Stanley. Thank you, buddy. I've been wanting to do this for a while since I've been following you on the computer. So I'm excited.
It's my pleasure. So are you from Charlotte, North Carolina originally?
Yes, sir. Right outside of it, a little area called Lake Norman. So, yep, just a little suburb about 30 minutes north of Charlotte.
Big wrestling town, a lot of history. Do you remember your first exposure to professional wrestling?
I do. Yes, sir. Yeah. Other than, seeing somebody local at the airport, any given trip to the Walmart or the airport, somebody that lives around here, Flair or somebody like that. Obviously, being a child back in the 90s, there was endless amounts on TV to pick from. So luckily I had parents that on Monday nights would let me stay up just a little bit later to watch it. And if you wanted to watch one channel, you VHS recorded the other one. And so, yes, probably, as early as 4 or 5, 6 years old, I was having memories and comparing the night before shows at school with my buddies. So, yeah, I've been a fan since I was at least 4 or 5 years old.
So this is, I'm assuming this is the Monday Night Wars Attitude Era, late 90s. You had WWF, WCW, and it really was one of the hottest periods of wrestling because you had all these different companies and you had all the toys, all the VHS tapes, you had the video games. It was crazy.
Correct. Yeah, we were obviously pulling from the people from here, the Hardy Boys and Ric Flair and people like that. But then, like I said, you would watch one show one night and record it and have your buddies over a couple nights later and watch the other one and watch Sting and all them on the other channel. So, it was, definitely endless hours of spent watching. Now there's YouTube, so I'm doing the same thing these days.
Did you have a wrestler that you just gravitated towards that made you go, I kind of want to try this out?
As a fan, my favorite one, obviously, back in the day for me, was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But the idea of wanting to wrestle, like I told you previously, me and a buddy had that, and that's what we were going to do at 7, 8 years old, was wrestle. Probably the Hardy Boys. Just because story and everything, and the organic way they came up into the business. Even at 7, 8, 9 years old, we knew that's how we wanted to do it.
Yeah, I mean, here are two guys that really changed the landscape of tag team wrestling. You had the ladder matches, and that evolved into the tables, ladders, and chairs as we know it now, and the classics that they had with Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and so many other tag teams, staples of that division. It's amazing to see that they're still going strong and still get huge ovations when they come out. It's incredible.
Know that, and now it makes me feel old that 30 years later they're still getting a great response. So yeah, 30 years go by, and man, that makes me feel old too.
You knew this is what you wanted to do from a young age. You and your friend knew you wanted to break in the business. Talk to me about training and when you decided to start seriously taking a look at wrestling schools.
Yeah, for sure. Long story short, me and that friend, grew apart in school. I took a different path, started playing music, and went that route. Had a blast with it. I told you previously, lived in Hollywood, lived in Nashville for a couple years, and did exactly what I wanted to do with that. And then when that kind of ran its course is when I had moved back here to North Carolina about 10 years ago. Had a great office job that I loved. But while I was working at the office job, I had some time to kill, and I was looking on the computer, and I was just scrolling through, just looking on Facebook, and there was a guy, just I don't know if it was an ad or what, that said pro wrestling school starting up here in Charlotte. And I clicked on it. I was like, this is exactly how it went. I was sitting at my desk, and I was like, I'm working out these days. I think I'm in shape. I used to love wrestling. I'm not doing anything outside of work. It would be cool to learn to do one match. So I clicked on it, and it was the old WCW wrestler Lodi. And I was scrolling through his page, and I was like, we got a lot of mutual friends, but this one guy keeps commenting back and forth on his stuff. Well, come to find out, that was a mutual friend of ours that worked just down the hallway from me, a guy named Dax. So I ran down there, and I said, hey, Lodi? And he said, yeah, roommates from college and best friends and all this stuff, and had never put two and two together. I was like, I want to learn to do one match. Reach out to him and let him know that I'd like to start up at his new school. I'll pay whatever. I'll go for a couple months. Let me try it out. So lo and behold, our buddy Dax set up a day when I could go down there to him. He was probably 15 minutes from my office at the time. And I remember I walked in July of 2018, and it was me and two other guys. And like I said, Lodi had dabbled in training. Like I said, some people like local people, Charlotte Flair, her brother Reed, several different people from around here, but he'd never had his own school. So we were his first 3 or 4 people. And it wakes you up. People say what they want, but when you hit that mat the first few times, it definitely lets you know how it feels, and it wakes you up. But sure enough, that was July of 2018. We stuck with it. And March of 19 is when me and those other two guys had our first match. But it was probably 2 or 3 weeks in, we were hooked. You go back and watch the cell phone videos that you kind of take a video of me hitting the ropes, or take a video of me falling down. And it's cool to see it on the phone. So we were just hooked after that.
Yeah, when you take those first bumps, they hurt like crazy. You really, it's bruising and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, this hurts.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. You kind of get immune to it. I say immune to it. You kind of, your body adapts to it. But if you go even a month or two on a break or something, and you go back to doing it after about a month, you can tell you've got some ring rust you've got to work off, because it wakes you back up.
What were some pieces of advice that Lodi gave you starting out that still stick with you today?
Even if when you're wrestling live, whether it's just for the live audience, whether it's for people watching on the computer now, and when and if somebody maybe makes it to being on a TV scale, you're not just performing for the people there live. You got to remember there's audience on the computer watching, and you got to remember there's audience on the TV watching. On the other hand, though, he would always say for the people live, whether it's 15 people or whether it's 2,000 people, that's not your fault. Those 15 people, it's not their fault either. So you're going to give them the same show that you would have gave the 2,000 people. So don't change the way you wrestle for the amount of people that showed up. Give them their money's worth.
Yeah, you always want to be prepared, and you always want to do your best to make sure that you execute the moves safely and your performance level is up at a high level. So you have to really make sure that you're going out there putting on the best performance as possible. And what was your first match like? Was it nerve-wracking for you? Did you feel more confident afterwards? What was your story learning how to wrestle and being able to get over any fears?
Well, so the same thing is I will say it's the same thing as playing music live. Once you get past that first song or two, you get about 10 minutes into the thing, you're super comfortable when you realize that you're having fun and the crowd's having fun. It's super smooth. Luckily, like I said, me and those other two guys, we all started the same weekend. We had a Friday night show and a Saturday night show local, and they were both packed out. Friday night, for me, it was a one-on-one match, and luckily it was with a guy that came and practiced with us and sparred with us, and it went very smooth. And I would have to say probably halfway through, but definitely at the end, I was like, that was way smoother than I thought it was going to go. The next night, the second match, Lodi and a couple of the other guys putting on the show, they didn't go out of their way they wouldn't never embarrass us, and they wouldn't never put us on the spot, but they wanted to, test what we had learned. And so they kind of last minute said, hey, y'all are going to be in a tag team match. We've only been in one match the night before, let alone a tag team match. And so sure enough, we pulled it off. I can guarantee, I promise, it's been 2019. I have yet to watch the full 15-minute match because I just cringe thinking about some of the stuff that I did. But the first night match on Friday night went super, super good. It was awesome.
Once you start getting over those fears and you start feeling more comfortable, it just becomes second nature to you. Muscle memory, you start practicing, you start working at it, and over time, you start getting it. And so when you start putting a repertoire together and you start competing against some of these people, any feedback from some of the other peers of yours and people that you're working with alongside that any words of encouragement that motivate you to keep going?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, like whenever, especially the cool thing about it is as a fan and as a wrestler is nowadays, a lot of these shows, especially here in the South, is a lot of the old school legends are on them. So like you'll wrestle people like Barbarian, Lodi, George South, Buffback, anybody like that. And the cool thing is a lot of them's constructive, but it's not condescending. It's all, man, you did this great, don't change, or man, I can see you got the potential to do this, keep this up or turn this up a little bit. It's never nothing like get on my level kind of thing. So it's always constructive, and it's always how to kind of fine tune stuff that we've already kind of learned. So I've yet, knock on wood, to be in a there's the harshest critics are usually yourself. You'll hear people come backstage all the time and just, man, I can't believe I did this, or I can't believe the match went that way. But when in retrospect you watch it back or somebody else comments on it, it's not as near as bad as you thought, or mess up or dangerous as you thought you did.
So far in your career, who would you say have been some of your favorite opponents that you've gotten to work with?
Oh man, there's a guy, we're two completely different styles, but we always have super competitive matches. His name's Hunter Young, and he's out of Augusta, Georgia. He's a great one. Like I said, I'm always exhausted after I wrestle him. A buddy of mine named Carolina Dreamer up here, he's an old school guy, but we'll get in there, and he's a big, healthier guy. It's a competitive match, but I always know that it's going to be hard hitting and that I need to bring my A game and not get complacent thinking I'll just throw him around the whole time. It's match for match. So there's two or three that I always look forward to when I see on the flyer. That's who I'm probably going to wrestle. Man, I love anytime I match up with those guys.
What are your ultimate goals in the wrestling business?
To be honest, I mean, who wouldn't want to be, on the top level? So, I mean, it's kind of, again, I keep saying stuff about music. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So don't get me wrong. I mean, any opportunity like that would be awesome. But I'll let you segue in a little bit about the ministry part of it. But I'm honestly at this point with my, day job, but with the wrestling and the ministry part of it, I'm having an absolute blast because I get to travel. I get to meet all kinds of fans. I get to do what I like to do and share the locker room with other old school wrestling guys. And then we get to talk about Jesus. So it's checking all the boxes. So it's the same thing as, like I said, with my music. I can go to sleep knowing that knowing that I did exactly what I wanted to do and accomplished what I wanted to accomplish and left nothing unturned. So I can say that about the wrestling. If it happens to go, the door opens for something on the next level, awesome. But I can, finish up here sometime soon and say that I did everything I wanted to do, meet who I wanted to meet, and travel doing it.
And you started your ministry up a few years ago. What made you decide to start that up?
So the cool thing about it is, and long story short, when right there, when we first had our first match, 2019, me and those same three guys kind of booked ourselves. We talk to this day. One of them's one of my top 5 best friends, Paul. But that whole first year, 2019, we all booked the same shows together, running the Carolinas and all that stuff, doing fairs, doing high school, all that stuff. 2020 rolls around and COVID happens. Well, with my desk job that I had at the time, I got sent to the house. And so Lodi would text a handful of us and say, hey, I'm going to have practice. And this is when things were starting to get a little better. He's like, hey, I'm going to have practice and I'm only going to have 3 or 4 people. And then that's when he told us that he was going to start having another guest come in who's starting up in the business. Well, we go down there about May, June, July of 2020. It's me and one of the other 2 guys that started. And then Arn Anderson started coming in, bringing his son Brock. So we had absolutely spent the whole summer because we were worried about, man, we're going to have so much ring rust. We're not doing any shows. We just got started a year ago. Now it's dead stop. So we were able to spend the whole summer of 2020, me and the other guys training with Brock and just picking Lodi and Arn's brain and just kind of honing it up. So when we are anticipating going back out and doing shows, we'd be ready to rock and roll. Well, personally, I had some stuff going on. Like I said, I was just living in the world at the time, knew better. I wasn't giving the best example, and I'll just keep it vague. But I had came to a point where I said, hey, I need to move out of town and start over. So the job I was at, we had an office down in Texas, and I had made some friends down in Dallas. And with COVID happening, the only wrestling that we knew of was happening down in Texas. And so I was like, hey, I got, some money saved up. I've got time on my hands, the opportunity to go back to work and a chance to wrestle. I'm going to pack up and go to Texas. And Lodi knew these guys that were still wrestling down in Texas, and it was called the Christian Wrestling Federation, a guy named Rob and Phil. So I moved down there, get me an apartment, waiting around to go back to that same job. But that Rob and Phil and their families and the whole wrestling promotion took me in as where it was not only the wrestling promotion, but we were doing men's groups, going to eat together, going to ball games and stuff, and sharing family meals together. It was such a cool experience. But that's where I got introduced to the putting on a show with 4 or 5 matches and then giving a testimony or a message. And so we would travel all over and go to churches, go to schools, and we had a stationary building right there in Dallas. Fast forward a year or so later, I get let go from that job again. This time it wasn't COVID. It was probably me. No, I'm kidding. But I get let go from that job again, and I move home to North Carolina. I still wanted to do, obviously, my wrestling, but I wanted to do the ministry part of it because that, as much as an impact as that was on the fans, it was on us internally. And so a friend of mine down in Atlanta, Marty Miller, started up HOPE Championship Wrestling. And ever since 2021, he just kind of picked up where, for me, that left off in Texas. And so I have been going down at least once or twice a month with him, whether it's Georgia, Alabama, Florida, all over the South, and we'll do the same thing. We'll go into juvenile jails, adult prisons, churches, schools, youth groups. We'll throw up the ring. we'll have probably 5 or 6 matches, and then one of us will give a message, or the local preacher will give a message, and then we'll give an altar call. So again, you'll get all these old school wrestling fans coming out to the show, and they'll say, man, we don't go to church here, but we saw the sign that said wrestling, and wow, you kind of captivated us while we're here. So I'm still getting my the ministry part of it in, and I'm still doing regular wrestling shows on the weekends, but that absolutely is the most fulfilling thing, is being able to do the ministry with it.
That's amazing. And so with this, you're inspiring people to be better people and motivate them and kind of and just try to like be the best version of themselves. And so
Correct.
For you, what is it about the ministry that you have that just kind of keeps you motivated, and it's very heartwarming?
Well, it's the stories you hear from the people that come up. It's the opportunity to pray with some little kids down front. But most importantly, whether we realize it or not, which, I hope we all do, the good Lord gives us different talents, whether it's singing, whether it's sports, whether it's preaching, teaching, nursing, whatever. And even though the wacky world of wrestling is the platform that he had given me and these other guys in the locker room, it's cool to know that we're using the ability that we have to perform to send it right back to, put him on the pedestal, not us. But we get to have our fun doing our recreation of it, but pointing it back to him.
And you also were a police officer as well. Talk to me about that.
I am. That's my day job. That's what I do during the week here in a little suburb outside of Charlotte. It couldn't have worked out better. The coolest thing about it is, with our schedule, I get every other weekend off. So I call up Marty with Hope or any of the other wrestling groups, and I say, hey, I'm off these weekends throughout the year. I'm ready to do some shows. And so it works out perfect. But what's funny is, like I told you previously in an email, it's probably been 2 months. I was at the gas station in my uniform at midnight getting some coffee. And sure enough, this lady in the line I'm like, it's midnight. Who's here at the gas station? And this lady's kind of glancing over 2 or 3 times. I'm thinking she's going to say, you wrote me a ticket or something. But sure enough, she says, ain't you that wrestler? So it's definitely cool. It's definitely cool. But same thing, I'm just using the platform of my job to, point it back to Jesus and just to try to be a good example right here where I live.
What do you find the most rewarding about doing this ministry and being a police officer? Because when you're out there making a difference in people's lives, you're trying to pay it forward and help other people out with what you're doing. So talk to me about some of the most rewarding pieces about what you're doing.
You just said it, making a difference in people's lives. The coolest thing is, whether it's the wrestling and going to a church and meeting some kids, and then a year later going back and hearing about how their walk is going ever since they, got saved. The same thing with doing the police stuff. It's dealing with somebody that might be on their worst day, and then a couple months later, seeing them finally get a job, or seeing them finally get their apartment squared away, or something like that. So it almost runs parallel with seeing how different lives have changed and the impact that you've had on them.
So where do you see the ministry heading in the next few years? What are some goals that you have in mind with having this thing, continue on and keep going? Where do you see this, where this is heading?
Well, I know whenever I have conversations with Marty, who is over the whole situation and over the whole thing with Hope, is we constantly talk about, we don't say no to any chance to spread the gospel, but I know we've been starting to do a lot more prison shows and jail shows, which those are obviously closed off to the public. But what we'll do is we'll go in on a Saturday morning to a jail and we'll put on a show for those guys, but we'll link up with a local church and have a public show that evening while we're already there in town. But, it's hard to tackle schools nowadays, which is crazy to say, but they have so many different policies. But I know we're definitely utilizing the access we have to the prisons and the jails to give those guys a sense of recreation for an hour on a Saturday. And then, like I said, turn around and giving them some positive influence while we're there.
Yeah, I mean, you're out there in the community spreading the word and trying to be able to get people interested, and there's a lot of buzz going on about this. So I hope this thing continues on and you're able to get people continue to attend these shows and hope things continue to prosper. So kudos to you for being able to do this. And hopefully in the future we can have you back on and talk more about it. So thank you so much.
I would be remiss if I didn't say this. And again, we are so lucky to have the platform. There's tons of there. Well, it's cool to see other ones doing this as well, not just us. My buddy Richie with Wrestling for Christ, things like that. It's just so cool to see that there's so many different avenues now to do things like this. So it's cool to use, like I said, our love for wrestling as a platform. But man, I can't thank you enough, Stan. This has been awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what Wrestling with Heart is about. Is about trying to inspire others and make a difference in people's lives. Because you never know what people are going through, and I think a lot of times, wrestling can be an escape for so many people.
Sure.
I think that the more we try to lift others up and inspire people and spread some positivity, I think we can make the world a better place.
Correct, man. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Yes, sir.
Well, this has been wonderful getting the chance to have you on. I want to say thank you for coming on to Wrestling with Heart. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you and your ministry? If you have anything you want to plug, feel free.
Absolutely. So on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you can always find HOPE Wrestling Ministries. And then on Instagram, my Instagram with all my devotions, my wrestling and things like that is AC Athletics _ AC Athletics _ but all the shows and all the info with the ministry is HOPE Wrestling Ministries.
All right. Well, thanks again. And you're more than welcome to come back.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And I look forward to sharing this on my platforms as well for the YouTube link. Absolutely.
Excellent. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.